Let's solve question 18 now. So suppose that with this probability P, a worker decides to quit at the end of the first period. Now, the probability P is the same for all types of workers. If a worker quits, then the company can hire a new worker at the start of the second period. All right. If this probability is equal to 1 over 4, then the company is indifferent at the start of the first period between hiring a worker A or a worker B. Now, first of all, when would the company be indifferent between hiring them? It would be indifferent if the expected profit of hiring a worker A is the same as the expected profit of hiring a worker B. The question is, what is the expected profit now? Because we have to keep in mind a new probability, the probability that the worker can quit. So we will still work with the data that we had from the beginning of the question. So the probability is over here. Let me just crop and paste them below, like that. Copy, put them over here, and we'll work with this as well. So what do we have now? Let's see. The expected profit of worker A. So the expected profit of worker A, what's that going to be? The expected profit of worker A. We know that we have a probability of 2 over 3. We have a probability of 2 over 3 of having a profitable worker. So 2 over 3 times. Now what would be the expected profit over here? We could get 120 in the first period, but there is a probability that the worker will quit and will have to change, right? So there is a probability P. There is a probability P that the worker is quitting. So if we have a probability P that the worker is quitting and we are hiring a new worker, we saw 2 videos ago that we would hire a new worker A because the worker A is more profitable than worker B in expectation. So in that case, if the worker A is quitting at the first period, then for the second period we would hire a new worker A, and the expected benefit from that, the expected profit from that, would be 60 euros. Again, in a second we'll write the highlights underneath all these probabilities because we really need to keep track of those. So plus the remaining probability 1 minus P, the worker does not quit, right? Worker A does not quit, so we would still get 120 from him. We close those brackets, and then what we also have is the remaining probability of 1 over 3. So we have the remaining probability over here of 1 over 3. I'm just going to write it underneath, plus 1 over 3 multiplied with, we could have a loss from the worker, so we could have a loss of 60 euros in the first period, and then we know that if we have a loss of 60 euros in the first period, we would fire worker A and we would hire a new worker A because worker A is more profitable for 1 period. So because we need him only in the second period, we would hire a new worker A, which would produce us another 60 euros in expectation. Hope this makes sense. Now, what would be the math over here? Well, if we solve it, but actually before solving that, let's write the highlights. So what we're dealing here is the probability of having positive profit. So here is the probability of having positive profit. Now 120 plus all of this. 120 is what we can get in the first period. So that's for the first period. And this probability over here, this entire thing, is what would happen in the second period. So for the second period, we have a probability of quitting. We can see it over here. And in that case, we hire new worker A. So we would get 60 euros from that. And then there's the remaining probability of not quitting. So 1 minus P, that's not quitting. And in that case, we will just get another positive profit of 120. So we get positive profit equals to 120, just like before. Hope this makes sense. With the same logic, over here, what do? Well, we have a probability of 1 over 3 of having losses, so negative profit, and minus 60 plus 60, well, that would mean that if we have a loss in the first period, so we have a loss in period 1, then we fire that A worker, and then we hire a new A worker. So we hire new A, so that new A would generate us another 60 euros in profit. So we have positive 60 from here. Now let's solve this. All this entire math. So we'll open the brackets. 2 over 3 times 120, that's going to be equal to 80. So that's 80 plus 2 over 3 times P times 60. 2 over 3 times 60, that's 40. So it's 40 multiplied with the probability P. And then plus 2 over 3 multiplied with 120. Well, that's going to be equal to 80 multiplied with 1 minus P. That's the term that is left, 1 minus P. Let's open these brackets. We have to open some more here. So that's equal to 80 plus 40p plus 80 times 1 becomes 80, and 80 minus p is minus 80p. So 40p minus 80p becomes minus 40p. That's going to be one term. And the other is 80 plus 80, which is 160. So we would have 160 minus 40p. And that would be the expected profit of worker A. Now, with the same method, with the same logic, we're going to solve for expected profit of worker B in the next video.